Hi everyone, Crystal here. Today I'll be going through a basic tutorial on how to use Krita or do digital art in general. So right now on screen is a summary of what I'll be going through today. This video may be a bit lengthy, so do stay to the end. So firstly, we'll be covering softwares, then download/setup, basic tools, layer function, selection tools and techniques, color matching and shading, style, and last but not least, saving and exporting your beautiful artwork. So firstly, we'll be going through softwares. So for softwares, I've compiled a short list that I thought of from the top of my head. I've split them up into two sections, computer/laptop and mobile phones. So firstly, for the computer section, I've compiled a list of Sketchbook, Krita, which is what I'm using right now, Mischief, MyPaint, Clip Studio Paint, and many more softwares. What I've put on this list are softwares that from what I recall, are free and that you can use. There are many more even better softwares like Photoshop that do cost a lot of money, so do take note of that. And for the mobile phone section, we have IBS Paint or IBIS Paint, Medibank Paint, Sketchbook, Sketch for Sony and Android phones, Photoshop Sketch for Apple, and many more, but these are the ones that I can remember. Next up, we have Krita and how to download it. So today I'll be using Krita as my example since it is the software that I use the most. So to download Krita, firstly search up Krita download. Usually you can use the first link, or if you want you can also use the second link. Clicking into the first link, you will see this page. Krita is a free software, so you can download it without paying any money. And there is a donate now button, but you're not compelled to do that. Most of us don't donate. But okay, so some things to note about downloading Krita. Try to download the latest version as it has the most features, and do take note if that the versions that you're downloading is compatible to your device. So as you can see, Windows has a lot of versions as it is the primary system that Krita runs on. But they do offer a Mac system and a Linux system. So if you have those laptops, you can also use this software. Next, do take note that your software is not too old, as only certain operating systems can work with this software. And do take note of the other details listed here. And if you're like me and have a graphics tablet, which is amazing, these are the graphics tablet that are compatible with Krita. So when you're downloading, do take note of these steps. And if you are a mouse user, you can go watch Kawaii's video on how to use Krita with a mouse after you watch this video. After you press download, it will bring you to a download link, and once you finish download, it should be there for you to start and use and prepare to start your fun. So when you start Krita, you will be able to see a blank screen without a file. You need to create a file, which you can do by pressing this button, or on the blank space there will be a button that says create new document, which you can do so. By doing that, you will see a blank page like this, and you can start drawing. So now we're moving on to some basic tools that you'll be using in your Krita journey. So what I've listed here are only some of the basic tools that are very useful for me to use when I draw. But you don't necessarily have to use the same ones that I do. These are just a list of the most basic and the most simple ones. So firstly, we have a smooth brush, which is currently what I have selected in my brush presets area on my monitor. So a smooth brush allows you to control how large you want the brush size to be. So if I press harder, it'll be thicker. But if I press softer, it'll be thinner. So do take note that this usually only applies for tablets, since you're able to control how hard you press onto the tablet. So Don't worry for you mouse artists out there, most of you who are beginners, there is a brush that is set. I call it the hard brush, only because you're unable to change the thickness from however hard you press your on your tablet or use your mouse. So it's easier to control usually for beginners. So I do recommend this, but if you want some artistic flair or have some thinner lines as compared to just always thick lines, then feel free to use the smooth one too. Next up, we have the fading brushes. So for the fading brushes, we have this brush over here and this brush over here. So I'm not particularly skilled enough to remember all the names of these brushes, but just try them out and afterwards I'll tell you a way to pin the brushes that you find the most useful into your always use list. So these brushes create a fade effect from however hard you press. Same applies to the smooth brush, where usually these only work better when you have a tablet. But don't fret, there are ways of making your artwork look faded or have a gradient sort of feel with just um with just a mouse. Lastly, in this basic section, we have a pencil. So there's many pencils as you can see here. But all of these pencils do usually have a blurry-ish effect, like how it would on actual paper. So you can use this for sketching and just texture in general. If not, it's pretty similar to the smooth brush, but just that it's more grainy and blurry. Now, onto the next section, which is also basic tools, but we're more going to be focusing on shapes. If we look to the left side of the screen, you will see this toolbar section, which is very helpful. But I'll be highlighting on these tools that I'm circling right now. Firstly, when you're drawing a table, it's not easy to draw a straight line unless you have a lot of stabilizer. But this tool, the straight line tool, allows you to draw flawless straight lines in any direction you want. And based on your brush, it can cause thicker lines or thinner lines. That's why when using this tool, it is nicer to use the hard brush as I've mentioned before, so you have consistently thick lines. Next, we have the square tool. So the square tool is basically to create a square or a rectangle, etc. It's very easy, especially when you have to do a lot of designs with cuboid shapes. So this will help you a lot. Next, the circle tool, which is a lifesaver for many. This tool really saves a lot of time, especially for sketching, because you use circles a lot when you're creating the general shape of a person, or for example, the head shape. So this tool is a very good tool. And lastly, we have the very strange tool that most people don't use, but it is a tool that allows you to create any four pointer shapes that you like this. It really does help when you want some nice, clean, and sharp geometrical shapes from straight lines. So, for example, I want to make a room. I can just do this, back to the original area, and then, oh, and then there, you literally have a wall already. So this tool is very good when you want to freely design and create new geometric shapes. So that about rounds up shapes. Now, on to the next section, which I believe is one of the most important sections, the technique section. So, for technique, there are a few things that you do need to take note of, and I do have to warn you about. Number one, there are times where Krita will malfunction. For example, you could be just drawing something, and then you realize, wait, my eraser's not working. Why is that? Firstly, you really do have to take note of opacity of your brushes. This is an essential since if I make the opacity 100, it works. But if the opacity is at 0, nothing's happening. So, firstly, you do have to check that that is at 100. And if that still doesn't work or something weird happens, check your layers. So your layer. So basically, each layer can have a different thing. So if I'm currently in control of layer 5, which is my technique section, and I want to change something on layer 1, I can't change that, but I can change what's on layer 5 currently. So that's another thing that you do need to take off. If that really doesn't work, feel free to save your artwork as it is and restart Krita. Close it and reboot it again. Sometimes it is rendering issues, so you can just take note of that. Continuing on, so now we look at how do you copy your image from Chrome and put it in here as a reference or as a copying scheme. So firstly, you can just go to Chrome, and for example, what I have on screen is the image that you want to copy. So do what you usually do, right click and press copy image. Then we can go back to Krita and make sure that you are on this function, the mouse function. This function allows you to navigate and you can't paint when you're on this function. So press this function, right click. You'll see a bunch of options, but take note of copy and paste. So in this case, you want to paste. So paste, and it will say you're trying to paste something. Usually just press as web and it will work. There you go, as web. So this is now a reference that you can follow. Do note that when you copy an image, it comes out as a separate layer and not on the layer that you're currently on. So if you want to physically edit it, you need to make sure that you're on the layer which the picture is on. Afterwards, you can just trim it. You can just draw on it on another layer, and that's it. You see that I'm repeating the words layers a lot? And that's because it really is an essential factor when doing digital art, as one of the main roles of digital art is that you're able to do things layered. So you might start off with something that looks very boring, but by adding a different color on a different layer, it might change the whole thing completely. So that's really the magical thing about digital art. Carrying on, we are now at colors. So you might see at my top right hand corner, there is an advanced color selector. So with this advanced color selector, you can choose any shade that you want, and the whole color wheel is present. I really do suggest going and googling a video about color references and a color scheme. So there's a lot of color theory that you can learn, but some of the basics that you should know are usually when you have a lighter color like this. Oh, sorry. When you have a lighter color like this, all right, and you want to change it to something that has more body, that is slightly darker. So many of times people would just add some random darker color and be like, oh, it looks nicer now. But color theory really is important. So for example, I have this color. This is the eyedropper too. I have this color, and you want it to have a shadow. So usually you will go in a triangular or an angle. So moving upwards in an angle, go to this shade. You might think that shade is disgusting. Why would anyone want that? But if you look at it from different perspectives and use different styles of shading, your color matching might be a bit different. So do really find your style. That's one of the most important things I can tell you. Find your style, then you'll be able to create your own unique artworks. And in the end, you might realize that some colors really do clash. Usually, these are the colors on the opposite side of the color wheel. So dark blue, yellow, pink, green. These colors sort of contradict each other, but there are artists that specifically use these colors to allow their artworks to stand out. Lastly, we have style, and then we have export and save. So For style, I really do suggest looking at different artists' work. Some artists may have certain styles that they follow and certain methods of which they do art, which could really impact a person's artistic artistic motivation. So some people may enjoy drawing more cutesy and adorable styles, whereas others may enjoy more realistic and manga styles. So it really depends on who you take inspiration from. I really suggest watching different art YouTubers or just look at artworks that you don't really pay attention to and try to understand it. Slowly, you would start to develop your art styles, and when you have others critique your work, you're able to improve and adjust. So, the more you draw, the better you'll get. And that is super true. I've only started drawing for about 1.5 years now, and I have to say my art has really improved. Honestly, if I were to open an artwork from quite a while back, I will have to say that it was not great. For example, if I were to look at an artwork that I did quite a while back, like this was from about more than half a year ago. This is my art style back then. There are many flaws to this artwork that I have changed and modified from feedback from others. I'll show you a more recent artwork that I've done. Mm, yeah. So, for example, this is an even older artwork that at first I was very proud of. Then I realized there's so many more techniques I should have learned and taken a hold of. Let me see if I can find. So, art really takes time and practice for you to develop and grow. And without practice, it's very difficult for you to improve. So that's why I really do want y'all who are watching this video to know that this isn't just talent and skill. It takes time and practice. So this is one of my newer artworks, and as you can see, my style has developed a lot, and my techniques and my shading style has also changed. So that's why just practice. As you know, we gotta practice 40 hours a day. Don't it'll hurt your eyes, but just practice and you grow. Lastly, how to save and export. So as usual for most documents, there is the save sign. When you press it, you will automatically save your file unless it's a new file and you haven't named it. Then it'll be the same as when you press save as, and you will see the file name selection and the usual files that you have. So for example, I'll name this tutorial. So I save it, and now you can be rest assured that all of your progress is saved and you won't lose any of it. So that is the end of my video. I hope you learned something from this if you're a beginner or not. And I know some bits are a little vague because I'm not an expert myself and I'm still learning and growing. So I hope all of you have fun drawing and hope y'all all create beautiful artworks through practice and through passion. Bye!